Hello and welcome to free coaching, fun coaching Friday, whatever you want to look at it as. Um,
F Friday. F Fridays. F
that's
them.
right.
And by F them, of course, we mean have fun. It's
Yeah,
free.
that's right. Have fun.
I did that and Desi jumped out of the box.
I'm trying to hang on. I'm trying to mute. That's so funny that you say this. Hello, Wendy. I'm trying to mute my tab. It's getting feedback.
Well, in the meantime, I will
There we go.
start
I'm just
talking.
going to cancel it. We're not going to be on Instagram today. We are going to be on all our other platforms, though, and we always are doing something fun and quirky and interesting. And oh my God, sometimes really unbelievably profound. And I know some things that have come up for me about when we were talking about it this morning, this strengths and weaknesses and boundaries and all it kind of all tying everything in together. And we had a really incredible weekend. For those of you that were here, I thank you. For those of you that haven't been here yet, shame on you. No, just kidding. You're invited. But we've
Where
always,
are you? For those of you who haven't been here, where the heck are you?
That's like, where in the world could you possibly be that is more important than right here, right now? But we had an incredible weekend and we had beautiful women here and we were really diving into horsemanship and like kind of the pendulum swinging back for me a little because I've been working with horses in personal development for a long time, and Daniela is now doing some pretty incredible things herself up in New York. And you are good with horses. Don't let anyone tell you're different.
Well, this is where this conversation evolved from earlier this morning, we were talking.
Yeah.
And I said something that Jen was very quick to be like, well, wait a minute. Hold on a second there. Because I was saying, I may not be an expert horsewoman, but I'm a pretty good horse wrangler. And I was enjoying that statement and comment. And that was me giving myself a lot of props. And she was like, poked the little hole in my statement that I didn't even realize was holding me back from an even bigger compliment to myself. Like,
yeah, and what a credence to you to even to acknowledge that, because I was like, should I say something? Because it usually always like I usually always catch the teeth on that one, when I like, well, I don't know about that, Daniela, and you're like, rah, 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 rah. I'd be like the little like bad. Like,
wait, me? You mean I'm not a soft little teddy bear when you tell me things?
when you tell me I'm wrong and I should do better, right? So it was such a great conversation because we were saying like hard conversation, easy life, easy conversation, hard life, and sometimes the hard conversation is just a very loving one, and that was because my intention is it would never be to like denigrate or take something away from what Daniela has created up at Artemis Hill. And I say the name intentionally because that was her creation. Xenogen was my creation. And we have, these such similarly aligned avenues to serve humanity. And it's so powerful to say, no, I would never, why would I ever do anything to take away from that? So my intention is pure, but sometimes based on your old, maybe some old stories or beliefs or something, it can be like, well, wait a minute, wait, snap back there, Jack. But at the end of the day, a lot of times when we start off with what we're not good at, so we can make ourselves feel better about what we are good at, or I think what you said, the SWOT, pointing out our weaknesses,
Right, because in the corporate world,
strengths.
That's a common thing to do in the corporate world is as a team of SWOT analysis, which for anyone who's not familiar is you're identifying your strengths, identifying your weaknesses, identifying opportunities and threats. And it's designed to help you be better, do better, perform better. But there are some holes in there that could potentially create some issues. And I didn't think of it as a bad thing, but it dawned on me when you interrupted that thought and you were like, well, but why are you even saying that? Why does it even have to be part of the sentence? I may not be an expert horseman, but I'm good at this. Why can't it just be, I'm giving myself
I'm not
Kudos.
a doctor, but I play one on TV.
I guess in that instance, it's probably important to say that first sentence. That's when you do say it.
That's
But I
when you
mean,
do say it, right. But the
you know,
opposite is also true, right?
it's a good point. And that kind of, because of course we're deep divers, that went into a whole discussion of more, where did that come from? Where did that begin? And for me, it was in corporate America. That SWOT analysis is what popped up. And so we just started going deeper into, all right, when you do identify your strengths, great. But then when you're identifying your weaknesses, what does that look like? When you're identifying opportunities and threats, are you even keeled in identifying these things? Because it's not a bad thing to know what your strengths, weaknesses are, where there's opportunities for growth, where there's threats that could derail you. Those are good things to figure out.
Yes.
But are you getting caught in the threats? Are you getting sidetracked and stuck in the weaknesses, or are you able to really give each a balanced amount of time, energy, and intention? Because it's true, there are some of us who can fall into, oh, I'm great at this, but I'm not good at this, and I'm not good at this, and I'm not good at this, and I'm not good at this.
Right.
Instead of, so laser
It's
focusing.
integration, kind of sort of almost like just shrinking yourself so it's okay to say the other thing. Like, well, I'm not really good with horses, but at least I keep them safe. I'm not doing cocaine, but I'm failing math. It's like, so what's the better of two stories? You know what I mean? And I think we sort of tend to kind of self-deprecate in a way because we don't feel like whatever we're saying has enough merit. That's me. I tend to, embellish. If it's 89 degrees, I might say it's 90. It's in the 90s, or it's instead of saying it's 89 degrees, saying, oh, well, it's almost 90, and sort of to embellish that a little. But
Yeah.
and rather than just allowing the facts to stand on their own merit and to go, well, and I was thinking about this because I got really good at horses really fast, but it wasn't because I was a prodigy. It was because I got 10,000 hours of fucking hard work in 2 years, 2.5 years. I did the math. When I started working with work, I dove in hard. So yeah, of course, and as an adult, it's more challenging because by the time turned 35, all of our beliefs are sort of hardwired into us, and any change we want to make has to be definitive and intentional. But as an attritional species in the human race, we learn these things quickly. Like kids are like, we say kids are like sponges. If you've ever learned a few things, there's a few of them: swimming, multiple languages, dancing, certain things that way, math,
Instruments.
instruments, musical instruments. You learn those things as a young child. It's like it's hard to rewire yourself. And incidentally, right after I got off the phone with you, I got on a call with another friend of mine because I was like, "You won't believe the conversation I just had with Daniela," And she said, "Awareness is everything." That was it. That was it. Because we all want to know, we all want to do better. No, none of us is over here going, nah, I really would really just prefer to do worse. I don't know. There's too many people, and certainly not on this call. We're all looking to do better. So what if awareness was it? Like all you needed was awareness.
I mean, that is a kind of the beginning factor in even uncovering a lot of these things, right? The awareness of, what you were just saying about your word. And it made me think of one of the 4 agreements, right? Being impeccable with your word. Because how often do we say things like, oh, nobody ever listens to me? Really? Nobody ever
Nobody.
listens to you. Or I never get anything I want. You never get anything you want. Like we say these things, a lot of us, and I don't
Well,
want, and
yeah,
even me
you know
saying
what?
that,
That's
even,
really true. You're not getting your next breath.
well, and if that, and even me saying we is me now incorporating everyone into this, or when people say
Oh,
things like,
yes.
right, when people say things like, you never know what's going to happen when you do this, and people say it because they're referring to themselves, but they're saying you. You never know what you can do when you
You
just give it your all. And in that instance, it's great because I'm saying good things. But if I say something like, you just can't win in this life. You just can't win. If
Yeah,
I'm saying that,
I really appreciate you so much for that because no, it's like when
right?
remember that Adam Sandler movie with Jennifer Aniston, Just Go With It, and they're going into
Oh
the
my gosh, ridiculous that movie.
Mucky cheese place or something, and the little girl, Kiki D or whatever, and he goes in and he says, "Well, no," and she was like, "Die, die, die," because like when you go and you start saying no to those kinds of things, like it's just like it stops the flow of communication. And you were so brilliant to call me out on that when you were like, "Don't put me in that. That is
Mhm.
that is not when
Because
you are."
that's right. And that's something that is kind of and this goes back to the conversation we were having, because when we say certain things, and I'm a stickler for how I deliver. I'm most of the time, I have my off times, we all do, but most of the time I have a strong value system around communicating things clearly without pressuring people, without attacking people. I do my best. Don't get me wrong. There's times where I can be very charged and it doesn't come
Girlfriend,
out the
I
way I
gotta call
want.
you out. You have made me cry.
Well, I just said maybe not all the time, but most of the
Here's
time.
to your point on that. It is exactly to your point. When you know that you have the ability to have that effect on someone, and you have that samurai sword with that beautiful blade, you do have to be very mindful of how you wield it. So to your credit, you're like, I know I have, I've cut you, but I also know that I have a very sharp tool that can be used in a very beautiful way. So
And can you imagine, Jen, if you had met me 10, 15 years ago? If I upset you with when I'm being conscious about it now, could you imagine how you would have felt if I said things to you the
exactly.
way I did before to people? Like there was no, and that was my upbringing in a lot of ways. My father is not the kindest in his words. He's certainly not impeccable. I mean, he's impeccable in one way. He's impeccable in one way with those words. But I
But
mean,
it's,
talk
you
about
know,
no filter, not caring who you're talking to, not, so that I had to work hard on that because, and then even in communicating, and we know it because it's really a part of psychology. When people feel attacked, they're not going to respond openly
nope,
with love.
you
So
can't.
being able to deliver is so important.
It's so good. Pick me, pick me. And think about how clear you have to be with the horses, and
Mhm.
bring it all back to the horses, all back to the horses. Because when I even back in 2006, when I went to like my training where I learned how to train horses camps, and I would come back, and my husband at the time, he would go, "Oh, you can go to those classes anytime you want because when you come back, you are not such a bitch." That's what he said. You said you are less of a bitch after you come back from horse training camp. And this was back in the, 2005, 2006. And I'm like, well, okay, see you later. Gonna go play with horses. But to the power that the horse has, and what the beautiful thing that I think is unique about people's relationships is like, especially with you and I, is our understanding of the horses and our commonality in the way we are able to communicate, because you understand Bourbon, and you understand Scotty, and you understand Dante and Bella. We both have that language, and you can even say to me someday, you're like, "Look, Jen, I'm just having a maverick moment. Let me be." And I go, "Got it." Right. And then I can stop using the language. You're like, "Hey, quit being such a Bella. You're giving me a sunburn." Okay, got it. I don't judge myself that way because I would never judge a horse.
No.
And just tying all that in together, and We, the royal we, and the mouse in my pocket. When I say you, I mean the mouse in my pocket. Um, yeah. Go ahead. What were you gonna say?
No, I was just going to reiterate that there's, first of all, there's so many facets to this. And you and I have been recently talking about that book, The Four Agreements, and how amazing. If you only ever read really one book in your life, this is not a bad one, because there's
Oh,
so much gold in this. And if you can adopt, or when you adopt these four agreements, they're agreements that you make with yourself. And the agreements are: don't take anything personal, right? Don't make assumptions.
I say and teach, make
Yeah.
or teach
Don't
assumptions.
make or teach assumptions. Don't,
Yes.
yeah. Being impeccable with your word and doing your best. And then what was the fifth one?
Uh, be skeptical, but listen.
Right.
And I am struggling. I'm sort of rolling. Have you ever ate a black jelly bean?
Oh.
Yeah, it's sweet, but you're not quite sure if you like the flavor. That's how I'm rolling the word skeptical around on this one, because be skeptical, but listen. I'm like,
Well, and that makes me think, let's look up what the actual definition of skeptical is,
oh,
because
I
I
did.
think
I
also,
did.
oh, okay. Because sometimes,
You're so surprised. But
but it's a good thing to do, because I think a lot of times too, we have a negative connotation about a word, but it may not be a negative word to use. Because when I hear skeptical, it just makes
having
me,
doubts or reservations, not easily convinced.
okay. Hey,
I don't know about having doubts or reservations. I like the idea of being not easily
not
convinced.
easily convinced. I
We
like
took
that.
the first definition, the primary definition of the word skeptical, then I'm on board with that. I having doubts, I don't like that word, and I don't like having reservations, because that makes
Unless they're at a fancy restaurant.
it's Ah, pattern interrupt. Pattern interrupt. That's what from now on, we're gonna do something like, oh, it's like pattern interrupt. Bella, I'm telling you, Bella needs 800,000 pattern interrupts a day. I have tapped into Bella's psyche in a new way, and this conversation is so powerful to talk about it, because she is. And here's the thing that I don't like about the word skeptical, is because skeptical the doubtful part of it, not the you know change my mind, but this the doubtful part of it, because is the skepticism coming from fear, or is it coming from discernment, or is it coming from certainty? I'm certain about my truth. Please convince me otherwise. Or is it skeptical? I don't know if I can trust you. Is it based in fear?
Well, and how much of that, I'm curious, is even, because I do think sometimes going deep is good, but how deep do we need to go? This kind of goes back to this morning, what we were talking about with the ego. We want to
True.
kill the ego, but we want to fill the ego. We want to hate the ego, but we want to love the ego. So
Right.
how far down this rabbit hole do we go? Because for you to say, is
Well,
it behind, is it fear, is it this or that? What is that? What does it matter? Who cares? If
well,
you're skeptical, maybe this is just a random thought here, but this is what's coming to me, is like, why do we have to even get too deep into that? Maybe certain
because as a
situations.
Bella, my level of skepticism is going to get me hurt.
So is it the level, or is it the reason? Because, and
I
are
think
you
it's
associating reason with level?
I think it's both. I think it's a scale. Because I think when you are fearful, you can't learn. And I think when you get more confident and calm, you get more curious. And when you get curious, you are able to take aligned action.
Hmm.
And when you take aligned action and you're aligned, your skepticism comes from a different point of motivation than it does when you are fearful. And I think that, not to be granular, I think that is an important point, because motive does matter.
Yeah. And I mean, and I think that's, you expressed that really great, actually. And that makes perfect sense because it makes me think of, like, let's say a little girl who's afraid of horses is going to be a lot more skeptical in a certain way to approach them than a little girl who's not afraid of the horse, but is just skeptical that she doesn't believe it's going to do what I'm telling her it's going to do.
That's right.
And that's a good analogy and a good thought process, because I also can see, and this is my strength and weakness, is the amount of analyzation that I can put into a something, because I could take this even further and I can go even deeper down the rabbit hole, but I don't know that it's necessary right now, so I'm
Oh
not
man,
going to.
way too many naughty jokes in that sentence. Analyzation and deep into the rabbit hole. Sorry.
I mean, hey, how deep you want to go, Jen? Huh? How deep you want to go on this today? Okay. Too far, too far.
And that's funny you should say that, because I wrote something down, and let's stay on this train of thought for a second, because I think it's super important, because you look at the different personas. You have, if a Dante is skeptical, what's that skepticism going to look like? If a
Mm,
Bella is skeptical, what is that skepticism going to look like? If a Maverick is skeptical, what is that skepticism going to look like? And if a Trace is skeptical, well, I think that's what he was talking about in the book. But I mean, I've read it and I might need to look at it in a little bit more depth. But I think there's something really powerful to think about, like why you are being skeptical, like what is that motivation behind it, and maybe not necessarily the level, but the reason. Why is Trace always curious about this, and what are you doing about that? You know, he wouldn't have been like that had I not crafted that in his development. Like look at Scotty. Look at his skepticism about doing 6 laps at a trot. Like
well,
that was
and like
fuck
you just
you. I'm
said,
not doing it.
and at this point, back then, he didn't know what was going on. His skepticism was very broad, because we were just hitting the tip of the iceberg with him going into this stuff. But now he willingly goes anywhere with me. But now
Mm-hmm.
the skepticism is more like, are we doing this again now? As opposed to
It's
before, it was like, what are we doing? Why are we doing this? I don't even think it's
right.
necessary.
And I think so. Again, I think motive matters. I really do. And keep something else in mind. Horses learn 7 times faster than humans. So they pick up on this shit. They know exactly where you're going to go or where you're not going to go. The beautiful thing about horses, just as a blanket statement for anybody that is watching, they give us so much grace that they should be edified as angels on earth,
Mm,
because their skepticism is there, yes, but their level of tolerance of our ridiculousness is epic.
yeah.
And
Well,
I look at that and I go, well, how do we dive into that fifth agreement in a little bit deeper way, and get an ideology when we're talking to humans? Like, why are they skeptical? It's their persona, it's their belief system, it's all those layers.
and this is some stuff that Jen and I have recently decided to start really putting into action with the horses
Mhm.
using this book. We're going to start with this book. Who knows what books we move to after, but this is a great book to start, because you can learn a lot of this just observing the horses. You can get a great example of this stuff, but then you interact and you remember, okay, I can't take this personal. Okay,
Yeah,
I'm not going to assume he's doing it because I looked at him the wrong way and now he doesn't like me. And, I'm going to be impeccable with my word, because if you're not, like you said, they'll be like, what are you asking me for here, lady? I don't get
right.
it. Like, be clear in your communication, and doing your
Mhm.
best. It's just doing your best and loving yourself through it no matter what. And I think these are
Loving
great.
yourself through it, especially Bellas. You Bellas that
Yeah,
I
and when she
know and
says
love.
Bellas, for anyone watching who's may not know us well yet, and maybe you just popped in, when we're saying Bella and Dante and Scotty and man, we're using all these names, we're referring to our horses. We're referring to our furry friends who are a big part of our mission and what we do and our existence on this planet Earth. And so if you want to know more and you want to learn more, there it is. Go to that website or go to both of our pages, DM each one, either one of us, and
Check
we'll
us out.
gladly.
Check us out.
Mhm.
Old school. We are doing all our own things. Like, so we're working so hard. Like, just, you want to reach out, that come find us. There,
Mhm.
PM, phone call. I'll put my cell phone on here. I don't care. I was on freaking National. I was on NBC on a television show, and I gave him a cell phone number. And I was like, just call me, So, but just reach out, because it is important. And we really do have some great things to offer here. And the quiz, I just posted that. You can go take the quiz, find out which persona you are, which will tell you a ton about not only who you are, but how you can interact with other people. And so each horse, Dante, whether you're a Dante or a Bella, my two extroverts, or a Trace or a Maverick, my two introverts, it doesn't matter, because these will help you find that center and get aligned and get to source. And when you have that skepticism, it's coming because you're listening to your intuition and you're listening to your heart. And learning that from a horse is way easier than trying to learn it by going through life.
Mhm. Yep, and I think that's beautiful, and what we're doing is so beautiful, and I hate to say it's hard to put into words what you'll get and the impact, but unfortunately it's the truth, and it's one of those things that you can be skeptical and come here and let us show you exactly what.
Try and put in, but have you ever put like 3 or 4 emojis together? It's sort of like blend in, like, it's funny, but also sort of gross, but like I'm a little tired too, eggplant. You kind of blend them all together.
Tired an eggplant. Yeah.
Right. but but you get that point. Like, there are no words for what you experience when you go through these programs. There nothing. And I'm not, that is not a sales pitch. Because I know it, I see it with every person that comes here, and I will cry. I will cry, because
Don't
I
cry.
had
Don't
the
cry.
most incredible retreat with these incredible people here this past
Mhm.
weekend, and
Yeah.
it comes straight from the horse's mouth. So, yeah.
Literally. Yeah, and I just wanna end this by saying, if you're watching, if you've been watching, if you haven't come to us something yet, check us out, because, I'm doing these full moon things every month, which is a great
Oh,
way
me
to
too.
start.
Me too.
Jen's gonna
Hers
start
are
doing them
so
now
kick
too.
ass. Daniela's are so kick ass that I'm gonna start doing them too. She's
It's
sold
such a
out.
great time. Yeah, I'm
It's
sold out this
sold
month,
out.
and it's great.
And
And,
that's
yeah, and so come to a something. Come check it out. You won't regret it, and,
you won't
yeah,
regret it.
you
No,
won't regret it, no.
absolutely. I've
You'll be
never
glad you came.
And I'm driving up all the way to New York. Like, I don't know how many hours and days, but I'm driving all the way up there to go and help this and be a part of it, and she flies down here. Like, we wouldn't be doing this if this was just some, backyard dog and pony show. This is a mission. This is a passion. And we have some really amazing, incredible things coming down the pipe. So jump in on the quiz. That'll get you on our email list, and that our, way that you can connect with us and reach out. Just find us, hunt us out. Even a blind hog can find a acorn occasionally, right? Sorry.
Just reach out.
ET phone home.
Reach out.
On that note, have an incredible Friday, ladies and gents.
And remember to believe in yourself. It
It's
will change your life. I crush you.
I crush in your head.